Hello, little friends. I'm Melissa. Today I'm going to tell you a classic fairy tale from long ago, Little Red Riding Hood. Get comfy, open your imaginations, and let's walk together into the deep, whispering forest. Once upon a time, there was a sweet little girl who lived in a village near a great dark forest. Her grandmother had sewn her a bright red hooded cloak, and she wore it so often that everyone simply called her Little Red Riding Hood. One morning, her mother said, "Grandmother is not feeling well. Take this basket of bread and cake to her, dear. But remember, stay on the path and do not talk to strangers in the forest." Little Red Riding Hood promised to be careful. With a happy heart and the basket on her arm, Little Red Riding Hood set off through the forest toward her grandmother's house. The sun shone through the leaves, birds sang in the branches, and everything looked bright and friendly. But deep among the trees, a great gray wolf was watching her. Little Red Riding Hood did not know he was a wicked wolf, so when he stepped out from behind a tree and said, "Good morning, little girl," she was not afraid at all. "Where are you going, little one?" asked the wolf sweetly. "To my grandmother's cottage, to bring her this basket," she replied. The wolf's yellow eyes gleamed. "What lovely flowers grow over there," he purred. "Why not pick a few for your grandmother?" Little Red Riding Hood thought this was a fine idea. She stepped off the path and began to pick flowers, and every time she picked one, she saw an even prettier one a little farther on. While she wandered from flower to flower, the wolf slipped away down a shorter path. The wicked wolf ran as fast as his legs could carry him, straight to grandmother's cottage at the edge of the forest. He reached the little house, licked his lips, and knocked at the door with his paw. "Who is it?" called grandmother from her bed. "It is I, Little Red Riding Hood," answered the wolf in a high, squeaky voice. "I've brought you some cake and butter." Grandmother, who was weak and ill, called, "Lift the latch and come in, my dear." In one gulp, the wolf swallowed poor grandmother whole. Then he pulled on her nightgown and cap, slipped into her bed, and drew the curtains. Soon, Red Riding Hood arrived at the cottage and stepped inside. "Grandmother," she said slowly, "what big ears you have." "All the better to hear you with, my dear," growled the wolf. "And what big eyes you have." "All the better to see you with, my dear." "But grandmother," she whispered, "what big teeth you have." "All the better to eat you with," roared the wolf. He sprang from the bed, and before she could escape, he gobbled up Little Red Riding Hood in one great swallow. Then he lay back down, his belly heavy, and soon began to snore so loudly that the whole forest seemed to tremble. A passing hunter heard the terrible snoring as he walked by the cottage. "That is not the gentle snore of the old lady," he thought. "Something must be wrong." He stepped inside and found the wolf lying in bed with a huge round belly. The hunter raised his gun, but then he thought, perhaps the old woman is still inside. So he took a pair of scissors and carefully cut open the wolf's stomach. Out stepped grandmother, and right behind her, Little Red Riding Hood, both safe and unharmed. They quickly filled the wolf's belly with heavy stones and sewed it back up. When the wolf woke and tried to run away, the stones were so heavy that he stumbled, fell, and never bothered anyone in the forest again. Grandmother ate the cake and drank the fresh milk that Red Riding Hood had brought, and she felt much stronger. She and the little girl thanked the hunter again and again for his bravery and kindness. As she walked home through the quiet forest, Little Red Riding Hood thought about everything that had happened. "From now on," she said to herself, "I will always listen to my mother and never leave the path or talk to strangers again." Back in the village, her mother hugged her tightly when she heard the story. Everyone soon knew of the brave hunter and the wise lesson that Little Red Riding Hood had learned. The village slept peacefully that night. And so, Little Red Riding Hood, her mother, and her grandmother lived on in peace, while the forest grew quiet and safe again under the watchful stars. Our story has come to a close, just like a book gently shutting for the night. Close your eyes and remember, be brave, be kind, and always be careful on the paths you choose. Thank you for sharing Little Red Riding Hood's classic adventure with me. I hope it fills your dreams with bright forests, cozy cottages, and wise choices. Sleep well, and I'll see you again for another story soon. Goodbye for now, friends.